Hello, good afternoon, everybody. And get some people in here. We're just doing some separate invites here. Seeing if anyone wants to come hang out. Okay. Just bear with me for a moment. Hey, Kat, how you doing? Just doing some separate invites here. Okay. Okay. Well, we're just gonna hang out for a little bit, wait for some people to come in, because I'm gonna share some updates. And so far, let me see. All right. Cool. By the way, it's open panel, so if any guys, even if it's just a few of you right now, want to come in and have a conversation, go ahead and invite yourself in. You will be approved. We got a whole panel over here of free spaces. So let's go ahead and fill them up. Yesterday was a little off the rails. I didn't expect it to go the way it did. It wasn't bad or anything like that, but it was definitely something. It was, I just had to kind of sit back and let people get some sweat off their shoulders, or get they had to get their release going. I get that. So, and I always sympathize with that. But again, it's like I couldn't really comment on it because I didn't really know what the what I mean. I didn't have any information. I got the gist of what was going on yesterday, but like once I was only gonna let that go so far before I was like, all right, let's get back to true crime. I don't mind some of the dramatic stuff. I just don't personally get into it, but that's just me. I guess I'm more boring than a lot of the others, but that's okay. But anyways, like I said, we have an open panel here, so if anybody wants to go ahead and invite themselves, or if you want me to invite you, just go ahead and leave a comment and say so. It was a little much, yeah, kind of. But hey, I'm super patient with people. I get there's stuff that goes on. It's like it's sad because like this is a community that should be coming together at all times. It's just like and put all the BS aside. And if you have an issue, why don't you take it up with them without having it be in a public forum? DM them. Send them some flowers or something. Make a nice gesture. That's just me though. You know what I mean? That's why I don't have, a whole lot of beef with people. And it's just like, and I'm seeing content creators like do these dedicate live streams to other content creators on the same side. I'm like, this is kind of what Gypsy and her friends would like to see happen, is a bunch of us just going at each other. I'm not going to do stuff like that. I would never do that. And then I'm Sir Morbid, for whoever knows him. I've never felt one way or the other about him, but like now he is jumping from one side of the aisle to the other, and now Gypsy's team and people are all about Morbid, which obviously it's convenient for them when they can get someone from our side over there just because of some whatever. But what's crazy? It's like I'm a grown adult, and never did I ever even think about something like doxing. Like, you know what I mean? I almost didn't know that term, what that was when I did. I'm like, grown adults do this? I don't know. That was just my first reaction to something like that. It's just like, why would you do that? It's like if I had something against, if like I didn't get, if someone was saying something I didn't like, I would, and they were giving out bad information, I would combat that information with better information. If you just attack them personally, then your message is lost in translation. Because it's like, if that's all you have, then you must not have a very good, argument to be had. But what do I know? I'm just me. Apparently everybody gets it but me. That's okay. I don't know. It's like, I'm not here to judge. Hey, Ash. And of course you can come on up. Hey,
Hey,
what's going on?
nothing much. Was just like ordering last minute stuff for my oldest birthday tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday to the oldest.
Thanks.
And also, um, have your have a good 4th of July as well.
You too.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good time this weekend. I don't get like let me see. I don't even know what plans I'm having yet. There's a few different things going on, so I'm just gonna kind of play it by ear once the week is done. So that's how I'm gonna do it that way.
Right.
You know what's crazy is I started that series yesterday. I have I just posted part 3 today of just Gypsy debunking herself with her own words, and I posted to my verified Facebook page, and they limited my monetization. They actually like slightly demonetized me for something. I don't know why, because I think the word grape wasn't completely censored in it, and it actually was, but the word on the teleprompter or whatever it is, the captions, it showed up under the word, and they
Oh wow.
Facebook like completely, you can go to Facebook jail for just about anything in there. So it's just like you
Right.
gotta be very careful what you put in there. But they're like, oh, you didn't follow the rules, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, oh, come on. It's just like, it's first of all, you can put age restrictions on things. You don't have to completely like take away someone's like monetization. And secondly, it's like the actual like word itself, with the speaking of the word was censored. It just showed up in captions. It's like, oh my God, I
Yeah.
guess, I guess that's sacrilege and so horrible, but that's okay. It's
It's
like,
so sucky people have to censor what they say
yeah, I mean, it's like,
nowadays.
we're adults. Like adults can, we've heard words before, and it also depends on context as well. It's not like if someone was sharing like a story or saying, "I want to like do," you know what I mean? It's like if it was in some really nasty context, I could understand that, or like, but this was just a retelling of someone's story. It was actually reading
Yeah.
an excerpt off of Gypsy's book, so it's like
Figures.
crazy. But yeah, I did start that series yesterday. I have 3 parts. I just put the third one up right before I did this live. So whoever hasn't seen it yet, I am determined. Like I have a lot of these. Like I'm not going to stop them. So
Right.
and once again, it's Gypsy's own words. I'm not saying anything. This isn't me. This is not Audrey or Nina. This is no content creator fluffery. This is just Gypsy's own words, documentation, excerpts from her book, stuff from the FOIAs, her own medical records, and her own like forensic audit from like her Facebook messaging to everything else that's in those many many files. So now, in case anyone from her side wants to say, like, give me a lie she's told, I'm like, well, how much time you got? So
Right.
now I can come prepared with that again, because like there's the one time I was talking with Bree, and it's just like I just got back from work. I had no idea she was even coming on my panel at the time, and it's just because I didn't have everything all in front of me right at once, so I'm holding my phone. It's like and I did bring up like some of the lies, but again, she kept shifting the goalpost and stuff like that because it was getting inconvenient. But now it's just like I don't know how somebody could watch what I'm putting up and still say, "Yep, I still believe her." Because one of the classic things that you can tell, it's, Casey Anthony did this probably. Like, I mean, Casey Anthony completely invented this whole fictional like fairy tale world of characters that didn't exist, and even there's some that did exist, but she would change the details. She would like mention a high school friend that had nothing to do with her, but would like and these fake characters had backstories. You know what I mean? They had
Right.
relatives and inheritances, and what car they drove and what relatives they had. It's like she again. Here's what I've always, and this is something Gypsy Rose does. The more details you put in a story, you know what I mean? Because here's the thing: that Judge Judy has a great quote for this. If you tell the truth, you don't have to have a good memory.
Right.
So, you know what I mean? When they put details on top of details on top of details on top of just, you know what I mean? Trying to make it so persuasive to believe the story. Usually that's the sign of a pathological liar. Like big,
Yeah.
big
I
time.
have an uncle that's a pathological liar, and he, like, when somebody tries to lie to him, he usually says, "You can't bullshit a bullshitter."
Takes one to know one. That's great.
Yep.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's another thing that Gypsy Rose does, and especially part 2, when like part 1, I address her age and birthday cakes claim, and I do it with pictures. I got everything. If you go watch those if you can. And then the second one, that's the one where it addresses. Which one was that? Again, just so many lies to pick from. It's like I can't almost remember all of them, but I believe it's the one regarding the Barbie dolls. And
Yeah.
when someone finally catches her in the lie and finds the inconsistency, she's like, adding details on top of details on top of detail. Once again, just like Jodi Arias did, just like Casey Anthony did. It's like if they don't. First of all, when you tell a story, you tell it the first time, and there's no need for extra details unless you're lying. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
usually you get it right the first time, like you said. Like I said, Judge Judy said, if you have the truth on your side and you're telling the truth, you don't need to have a good memory. But suddenly it's like, oh well, and Nicole Kissinger did this too. It's like, oh, I have to call you back, and I have to add this to that, and I forgot to tell you this, and oh well, that's because of this. It's like, no, if you're telling the truth, you don't need to do any of that because you would have
Yeah.
had it right the first time, and it would have either been a reiteration, like, did you not hear me the first time? I told you this, stuff like that. But again, it's like there's 3, 4, 5 different versions of the same story, and then when you finally point out the inconsistency, instead of them owning up to it and being like, you know what, I wasn't honest about that story, I should have been. You know what I mean? And then just kind of own up to it. No, pathological liars will double, triple down on a story, will never admit that they're lying about it, no matter how much proof
Right.
you bring them. And you know what I mean? Just call you a hater and just, that's it. And yeah, like, and then they just add more details on top of details on top of details. And then if you're able to contact them again, like a week later, they'll forget those details. You know why? Because they were just making them up at the time.
Right.
And like that's another, like, especially in the one with the Barbies, like it's such a pedestrian topic. They're Barbie dolls, but she has this elaborate story that's absurd. Number one, that something to do with the anatomy. I'm like, these aren't really anatomically correct dolls outside of a couple bumps on the body, which you could see on your own mother. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like if she was so if Dee Dee was so HELL bent on making sure Gypsy can't see any anatomy of a full-grown woman. Well, first of all, yeah, why would her mother better dress in like a blanket every day? Because I'm pretty sure her mother was anatomically correct even through clothing. Because
Right.
those Barbie dolls without
Haven't
clothes,
you seen her own anatomy?
right, or her own. It's like, how are you going to hide that from her? And then, like, she claims that her mother didn't want to address what a Ken doll was and the purpose of the Ken doll. It's like, well, you understand what a mommy and a daddy is, right? Well,
It's
Barbie
very
and Ken are like a younger,
bizarre.
yeah, it's like a younger mommy and a daddy, but they're young and they're
It's
not,
very bizarre
yeah.
stories. I think
It's
that
bizarre, it's ridiculous, and it
it's
makes no sense.
scary. It's scary how psychotically manipulative she is. Okay, because if you can be that like vindictive. I mean, the way that she just lies, the way that she unalived her mother and the way that she did and the way that she masterminded it, and then as soon as they get arrested, she comes up with this narrative that her mom was it's a psychotic like thing. Like that's not okay. That's
Well, actually,
psychotic.
I want to correct you on something. She did not come up with it after her arrest. It's when her lawyer got to her because she was on the phone with Christy and Rod saying, I would never do anything like this. I loved my mom. She was my
Well,
best
no.
friend.
I'm
Yeah, I
saying
think
the way that
love
she
my mom.
psychotically I'm saying the way that she psychotically made things up about Nick. The false grape allegations.
Yes.
And
It's a huge
and
disservice
it's
to
been
people.
proven it's
Right.
been proven to be false. And here's my question to all of the people out there. Okay, because I've been told by people that defend Gypsy, but that support Gypsy, I'm like, well, why do you support Gypsy? And they're like, because I'm a girl's girl. And here's my argument to that.
that's
If
the.
you're
Never mind. I'm going to keep my mouth shut.
It just doesn't make
here's
sense.
my argument to that. If you're a girl's girl, then why would you support someone who would falsely claim grape when it's been proven wrong?
And say if
That's
they have a daughter that they're going to give their 13-year-old over to the dad to have incestual schmecks with because head of household, something like that.
no,
Ridiculous.
ashes to Ashley. What were you gonna say? I'm curious though.
I can't say it or I will get demonetized again about it because every time I say something, people are like, oh, that's horrible. So I'm I'm just gonna try and be nice and not say anything bad at all. It's hard not to say
I
what I want to say, but
can
yeah, I'll
imagine.
just
You can DM it to me later. That's fine.
I get that. I
Now,
get
I'm super
that.
curious now, though. But yeah, I probably know along the lines of where you're going, and I would probably identify with it and agree with what you're saying. But again, it's like Gypsy's a big disservice, a huge disservice to true abuse victims, like the Turpins and the Frankie kids and stuff like people that went through actual like abuse, not alleged,
Yeah.
not well. After I talked to
Those
a lawyer, then
those
the narrative came.
cases are the cases that I can relate to on so many levels. It's like unreal.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things again where like, the body cam of the 12-year-old boy going to the neighbor's house, the neighbor was crying, like saying like this boy's malnourished, he's chained, stuff like that. And then, Jordan Turpin, making contact with the outside world for the first time in her 17 short years of life at that point, not knowing what street signs were, not knowing what medication was, saying her siblings were tied up and chained up in the room. I think a Gypsy adopted a lot of these, actual events from real victims for
Yeah,
herself.
and
And it's really,
Justin,
yeah,
that's my point when I talk about, when I bring awareness to this subject, when it comes to child abuse, is she's taking advantage of the sympathy of real, people who have really been through that. I
right.
don't want to say survivors because I don't know. I don't want to overuse that word. I feel like cuz Gypsy overuses that word and I don't want to sound like
Well,
Gypsy. So
it's just gross when she tries to claim the
and I'm
survivor.
just saying,
Like,
like,
you didn't
she
survive
takes
it.
advantage of the sympathy of people who have actually been through that, and
Right.
that's not okay.
I mean, what's really disturbing is like not only she's going after a younger demographic, but you know what I mean, that there's so many uninformed or misinformed people about Gypsy's case. Luckily, I'm seeing more people like, whenever Gypsy's mentioned in another topic or someone brings her up, there's always someone that jumps in and is like, no, she's no victim. Have you looked into her case at all? It's not just someone from our community. There's like an overwhelming big response of people that are completely against her narrative. It's like, but I notice most of the people still buying it are younger kids or like college age,
yeah.
the ones that have not looked into FOIA documents. Some people that I've talked to don't even know what FOIAs are. I'm just like, well, that's going to be, again, anything about Shabu. Again, if the Shabuse claims were true, then why would her attorney say they have no defense for her? Isn't
Right.
Shabuse a defense?
Well,
So
some
again, yeah,
kids
I reiterate,
nowadays,
why didn't it go to court? Why did she have to go with some plea deal and and have to admit guilt if this was like a complete self defense? I had no choice. I was going to get it. Like in her book, it
right?
says it was either me or her, and it was this one throat surgery that
But
was about to,
Justin,
whatever.
I think that there's a lot more positive than there is negative when it comes to people, like, especially like younger people, because I can't tell you the amount of people that have come into my DMs and be like, yeah, like I can relate to you. I supported Gypsy too. I thought that I could relate to her too. And they're my age. So to bring awareness, there's more positive than negative. And, it's like what Sheena was saying on panel yesterday. She was like, "What have you guys done other than just
What
bitching about it?"
Well,
You
we're
know,
to
the
discuss
FOIAs, the
having
Watch
the
out, you'll
FOIAs.
well, the
send me.
FOIAs. Number one, the FOIAs. That's taking action and making sure those FOIAs get out to the public in mass
Yeah.
numbers, which we've done. And secondly, through several content creators and through other in YouTube channels, you name it. So there's action right there. And secondly, it's just like what I mean. There's more things you can do than just write to legislators or try to change laws for it. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure that this doesn't happen again in any other case where someone can just falsely claim abuse and get out of consequences and then be rewarded for your crime with a reality
I
show,
think
book
it's
deals,
Right.
press tour, and
Not just
yeah.
not just that, the fact that another way of getting things out is to put it on the internet so younger people can see it and see the truth.
Right.
And that
That's
helps out a
another.
lot too.
I
Yeah.
mentioned that. I said, well, because there's a younger demographic out there, Sheena.
Yeah.
that, the more that we get this out there, and some kids that want to look into the case, and from like an open-minded point of view, you know what I mean? Again, it's like the only time Shabuce came into the fold is when her lawyers started claiming it on national TV, and a whole bunch of, again, an irresponsible judge. A real judge would have put a gag order as soon as they would have seen those dirty lawyer tactics, and would have been like, "Why are you going to the media during pre-trial motions and before a voir dire?"
Yeah, but like
A
I
voir
said,
dire.
I think that it's safe to say, I think it's safe to say that there's more people that, are spreading the truth than there are that support Gypsy. I think that it's a very select few at this point because unless you've been living under a rock, everything is out there for everyone to see, everyone to know. Her crash outs, her behavior, the blanket video, the FOIAs, you can't, unless you've been living under a rock. I think the majority are out here talking about the truth, or they're just against Gypsy in general. I think that it's only a select few, that
Yeah,
support
and like it's scary down when people downplay the stuff like the blanket video. It's like, listen, it's like, you have those situations that, whether it's a school pew pewing or whatever, what have you. They always think like, could this have been prevented? What could we have done? Were there any signs or signals before something else? It's like we have a mass load of them. They're reported as they happen in real time. And then, you know what? Something happens. I'm not saying it's going to, and I pray to God it doesn't. But suppose like, history repeated itself in some way, shape, or form regarding Gypsy Rose, and then the blood is going to be on the hands of everybody in Missouri in that justice system that basically allowed her to, walk free with a slap on the wrist and then get rewarded for this crime by having her own reality TV show. For me, 9.5 million bots, followers, whatever, on TikTok, and monetization, and a press tour, and everything else. It's just like,
Justyn.
this is not justice for anyone.
With like, okay, so with morbid even, I think a lot of people take it into consideration that I don't really like that dude. However, I want to bring awareness that I think that it's very possible that he is, befriending, he's getting close to Gypsy and her friends and stuff to get inside information.
Maybe.
So because I think it's a very smart move. I don't like the dude, but it's a smart move.
He's doing, because it's like, again, it's like seeing him go from one side of the aisle to drastically the other is a little bit weird. And then,
It's like with the whole Becca thing. Like, I think what people fail to realize is they just run with it when that's what you're supposed. Undercover work is very smart. I admire it.
if that's what he's doing, then I give him my applause. But again, I hope he's pure of heart with that, and it's not just a bunch of nonsense. Like, if he's actually doing that, like it's sort of like a sting operation in a way. You know what I mean?
I don't like the dude. I've never liked the dude. I don't like how he goes after people's appearances. However, I just want to bring awareness that, going undercover is not a bad thing. That doesn't mean you're a flip-flopper. It doesn't mean now, and I'm not saying this about him. I'm saying about like anybody in general, about even like the Becca situation. I think people just run with it when they like, "Oh, you're a flip-flopper." But what they need to realize on like a journalist aspect, you have to go undercover in order to get the information that you're needing.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. That's the best way to do it. And like I said, I would love to again, like, but I can't. Like, oh, well, maybe if I had the opportunity to do something like that, I would absolutely do it. Like, if I befriended someone from that side of the aisle and I was able to get information, absolutely. You know what I mean? Because like, there's nobody on that side of the aisle I desired to befriend, and I wouldn't bring somebody like Mia or someone innocent in the situation that I see. Like, again, like, I don't really blame Mia for any of the views. First of all, she's distancing herself from this circus as much as she can. She has a career. Again, it's like I kind of have my eyes on that situation, because like
It's all about.
she's
It's
she
all
never
about.
who Gypsy wants to be. She wants to be a wife. She wants to be like young and beautiful. Like, and then Mia's got a career.
I like Mia.
She's a fiance, not a baby mama. And on top of that, it's like, just I think she's just been given the narrative, whatever her mom and dad and Gypsy have been telling her, and then now she's thinking for herself, and the more she thinks for herself, plus she has the assistance of Andre's family, most likely, because they've wanted nothing to do with this. You know what I mean?
Right.
She's probably gonna go in that direction rather than going ride or die for a schmurderer. So
Yeah,
it may be
and
her, but you know.
she got to make up her own mind about the whole thing. She got to witness how she really is.
And I think she noticed a big change in the dynamics with her family, especially among her mom and dad. As soon as Gypsy gets out of prison, it's like, you know, suddenly it's like a hurricane disaster going on in their household.
Well, Mia can't help who
Yeah.
her sister is. I
Right.
like Mia. You know, there's a lot of people in this community. They talk so negatively about Mia, and it's like you're entitled to your opinion. But my perspective is she can't help who her sister is, guys, and she's a good person.
I agree. And like I said, everything that I see with her, I don't think she got it with blood money. I'm pretty sure she put herself through school or took loans out for it. There's unless there's evidence that Gypsy I doubt Gypsy gave her enough money for an entire nursing scholarship. You know,
Really
I
doubt
know the
Gypsy would
costs
do
for the
that
for
too.
nursing school,
If
and
you read if you read between Mia's lines, you can tell that girl does not want nothing to do with Gypsy. Okay, just look at she made a video recently and she basically said it. She said, "Let me reintroduce myself. I'm Mia, just Mia." So therefore, I think that if you read between the lines, she doesn't want to be known as Gypsy Rose Blanchard's sister, guys. Like, she wants to do her own thing. She's very
Yeah,
sophisticated.
related to the
like I said,
girl that murdered her mom.
right. And, you know, she's an up. You know, she's about to be a bride and be a wife, and she's got a thriving career. You know, she got her white coat pretty quickly, and pretty young. So it's like she's on a whole different path. Gypsy has basically told the world many times she has absolutely no intentions of working ever. She told one person that in another life, if I ever chose to work, I'd be a social media influencer or something. Like, that's not a job, first of all. And
Let's not forget the Tinkerbell job that she wanted at
Oh
Disney.
goodness, she's fucking delusional. Sorry for my language, but she's delusional.
She's obsessed with Disney, like almost to like disturbing degrees. It's like she
Yes.
has lived and breathed the Disney, like pretty much lived at Magic Kingdom, like, you know, since she was a child. And, you know, she claims that she was a sheltered little being. She's been to Disney World more than, like, you know, 5 other people's lifetimes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You know how many
Hell, I've
vacations.
never been to
and-
Disney World, and you don't see me complaining about it.
You know what's crazy? I spent my 12th birthday at Disney because my family actually got to go on a Make-A-Wish trip because I had 2 brothers that had muscular dystrophy. So it happened to land on my 12th birthday when I went. My brothers were 7 years old each. They're twins. And then, yeah, royal mashed potatoes, absolutely. Yeah, and she also says she never ate real food until she
Royal
got
mashed potatoes. She knew what she was freaking doing.
Absolutely, and also, and whoever, everybody that's in here now, I posted 3 parts of the debunking Gypsy with her own words series. I've done 3 so far, and I've got a ton more. I'm not stopping these. These are going to continue. They need to. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out parts 1, 2, and 3. They're available right now. And again, I'm not saying anything. I'm just introducing the video, introducing the content and what you're about to see. And I even tell you, you know, hey, you know, do what you will with this. It's like, make up your own mind. It's even though it tells you exactly what's going on. And again, this is not chopped, spliced, or edited. It's her own words. And I give the timeline. I use FOIA documents. There's also, you know, excerpts from her own book. There's different interviews with with the same subject matter. It's like there's nothing in there that's manipulating the context of anything in there. So again, I would implore, if there's anyone watching this that is supporting Gypsy Rose, how are you able to watch any of these and truly say, you know what, I still believe her. She's telling the truth, and none of this means anything.
You know, guys, I absolutely believe that there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes because history is repeating itself. She tries to portray to the public that she is everything's cool, everything's fine, but I believe that behind the scenes, I think she's getting her karma, and I think that a lot of people within her circle, I'm sure that they're not getting along. I'm positive of it. I don't know them personally, but just from the outside looking in,
Right.
you know,
Recording yourself cutting up a blanket, and Parker is just a couple feet behind her. I'm like, oh, please don't hurt that poor dog.
No, that poor
you know what I
baby
mean? Like
doggy.
I was watching, and again, like if you're a grown woman, a mom, and you choose to record yourself doing that for whatever reason, I don't care what your reasoning is or what happened or what Ken did. It's just like, it's like, again, this is a convicted murderer out in society that has access to a baby, a child, has, a dog standing 2, 3 feet behind her, and, everything that we know about her. And, it's like, you didn't see the Frankie children or the Turpin kids going to a hotel room after what happened to them and started having,
And
eating
that's what I
brownies
mean.
after a Schmeck's party. Let's just say
That's
that.
what I mean, Justin. Like, I think that society really messed up. Like, the justice system really messed up by letting this woman out of
They
prison
absolutely
because
did. And
she's
again,
still
if
dangerous.
anything happens to anyone, whether it's Ken, Aurora, Parker, Pixie, I don't care who it is, the blood is going to be on the hands of that justice system. And again, we're going to have people coming out saying, was there any signs? How could this have been prevented? You guys allowed it.
Even her
You
friends
assisted
allowed
this.
it.
Whatever future crimes, if they happen, I hope they don't, but God forbid it does. Any kind of history repeating itself,
Okay.
it's like
You
it's
know,
going. They basically assisted and enabled this to happen. So.
Lisa says the justice system, not society. Now, I blame the justice system and society partially because they encouraged it. A lot of people encouraged
A
it.
lot of people were misled. A lot of people were fed a bunch of
Yeah.
nonsense from mainstream media. I can't entirely blame them because again, they're getting what they naively believe that because it's on the news, it must be true.
No, I
So
don't entirely blame them. I blame the justice system. Absolutely,
it's
I'm just
at the
pointing
end of
out
the
the.
day. And a
I'm
judge
pointing out the
allowing
fact
those
that you
lawyers,
know.
the judge allowing those lawyers to recklessly go on some media tour with some narrative that hasn't even been brought to pretrial motions, and the judge doesn't put a gag order on this. They didn't admonish any of the attorneys on her team, and then in fact, the prosecutor who was going up for re-election that year was so basically like rattled by this, he didn't even want to take. Now that the court of public opinion is shifting in Gypsy's favor, I can't look like I'm going after a victim. I'm gonna have to give her some like little plea deal, and then there you go. But she's on the witness stand at Nick's trial, basically admitting, "Yep, I planned all this. I put the weapon in his hand. I did basically everything," and she was asleep while all this was going on. It's like, you know what? Even if her mother was abusive, if we're gonna allow people to just take it in their own hands and just because they're claiming they're being abused, whether it's true or not. You know what I mean? That's going to set a very dangerous precedent.
Yeah.
Well,
in society
Justin,
and in the justice system.
Justin, on another note though, like everybody, all of the people that believed Gypsy originally and felt like she was justified, they're not wrong for feeling that way. They're valid actually because there are self-defense problems. There are issues where, people feel like they have no way out, but this was not Gypsy's situation. She was not scared for her life and it's been proven.
No, I think, and I would look, if Dee Dee were here today, it's like, I could just imagine what she would say, what it was like having to be around narcissistically entitled, brat that just wanted to get out and get the D from a whole bunch of married men and, men she was meeting all over the internet.
Right.
And all, it's just like all those videos of her dancing in the bathroom and doing all the belly dance. It's like, that's what she was doing with her spare time. You know what I mean? This wasn't some abused shelter victim. This was some, schmexualized, crazy lady.
And Mayor Breezy makes a very good point, by the way, in the chat. She said she videos everything, not one video of her mom abusing her. So here's what I think. I think that she was out of control, and I think that Dee Dee absolutely was aware of her and Nick's relationship, and I think that Dee Dee was scared. I think Dee Dee was scared to confront Gypsy.
She took the picture of them at the movie theater. Again, in the act, when I was watching it, I'm like, why are they making him out to be some random creep? I'm just like, what about the picture of them at the movie theater together, dressed up for the, Frozen or Cinderella, whatever they went to go see that. It's like Dee Dee took that picture. From all things that we've heard, Dee Dee actually liked Nicholas. All things considered.
Oh, you just made a good point. Oh my gosh, I never even thought about that.
About the
Dee Dee
picture?
took that picture.
Did.
I never
Yeah.
thought about. I just seen that picture,
Absolutely
but I
did.
never thought about. Oh well, somebody had to take that picture.
No, they
Obviously,
didn't.
wow.
Yeah, it was Dee Dee. She took the picture, so there was no hatred against Nicholas, at least not at that time. And then if it was, it's probably something Gypsy was doing to stir it
No,
up.
that's all made
No.
up by Gypsy. Because hear me out. Like Nicholas, he even I could have swore. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I could have swore he said it in the interrogation that his mom or Gypsy's mom liked him at the movie theater. They like hit it. They hit it off. They hit it off.
They did. They absolutely
Yeah,
did.
he
Again,
said she was
why
nice.
would Dee Dee take a picture of them?
Yeah, and he
If he
literally
hated,
said she was nice.
yeah,
So he
she
knew
said
her.
Dee Dee was very nice to him. But all the other narratives about like she's not going to let us be together, and it's just like this is the only way we can be together. And again,
No.
Nicholas, first of all, it's when people want to comment on Nicholas's situation, it's very reckless when they have no like knowledge of like people how people with autism are emotional.
Yeah, and that
First of
pisses
all,
me
it's like
off
you know what I mean.
so
And they think
much.
that they can comment and they can come up with a determination on a topic. When it comes to where it's not like a regular person like you and I. This is a person with level 2 autism. You know what I mean?
I
To go
just
in there and say you know what Nick is thinking and you know how Nick is dealing with this and what his ideations are. You have absolutely no clue until you have some education or you do some long-term study on the human
For
mind
real.
and on
I
autism.
agree.
Then there should be absolutely no like preconceived notions or assumptions made about Nicholas
Look,
before you know about how
I
autistic people and autistic children and autistic beings in general think
Right.
and how differently they are and it varies. It's a wide range. The spectrum is very big. So again, it's like it's not just some black and there's so much gray area in that situation. It's not even funny.
I firmly believe that Dee Dee was scared of Gypsy.
I
And
absolutely believe it.
I believe that Gypsy took Dee Dee's life out of greed, pure greed,
And hatred for her mother.
greed. Yes,
I
greed
think she
and
wanted that
hatred.
pink house to herself. She was going to have Nick commit a crime that was going to, clean up everything all at once. She was going to get Dee Dee gone and gone for good out of the house. It's going to get the patsy to take the fall for it. And she thought she was going home. She told the investigator, it's okay if I get my social security card, my money, and get a ride back to with Missouri, Springfield.
Was
Like,
Gypsy mad that
she was
Nick was cheating at the time, like trying to get back at Nicholas?
I, I don't know those details, or at least I don't remember them at the moment because I mean it is what it is. But I think again with Nick, it's just like she was expecting to go back to that pink house all by herself, and then she has a new grip.
Right.
She's got a new type of victimhood she can embrace now. My poor mother was just unalived by my crazy boyfriend. Oh my God, someone help me. You know what I mean? Now she's got a whole new grift. And so she was banking on that. She did research to see if she could be charged with accessory after the fact, if she could be charged as an accomplice, if she could be charged with conspiracy. And, she did some very extensive research on whether she could be held accountable for this or not.
Yeah.
And
You probably checked out that one case where it was, I think, in Kentucky or something. I'm not sure. Or Tennessee, whatever. But it was a chick that pretty much did the same thing, had her parents unalived, and her boyfriend claimed he was a vampire too.
Well, there was
And
the one
it
in
was in the
Canada
90s.
Jesse Richardson, I think. Where this was in Canada, and it was a 12-year-old dating a guy in his 20s.
Oh my God.
I think it was like Julissa Richardson. I think she's got some
Wow.
J in it, but she was from Canada, and that case is among like some of the most evil children ever to like exist, kind of thing. Hey, yes.
Hey,
Yes, it was just another one of those things where it was just like, what's that noise? What was that?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like, Gypsy, the only thing that Dee Dee really went wrong is she did not guide Gypsy in the way that she should have. I mean, for understandable reasons. She was a single mom. It was her only daughter. She wanted to give her everything, that she could possibly, give. But
I would understand that to a certain extent because I know what it was like being a single mom, raising a child alone, and trying to make up for their dad their bio dad
Yeah.
not being
I
around.
understand it, but I think that she neglected to properly, train Gypsy in the way that you're supposed to train your kids. And like I said, that doesn't mean that Dee Dee deserved to brutally lose her life, because at the end of the day, Gypsy did this out of greed, and she knew right from wrong.
Right. And again, if she thought this was just, going to be something that was out of her, I mean, she admitted she planned all this, but she, again, like I said, she was doing extensive research on whether she could be charged with accessory after the fact, conspiracy, any kind of, accomplice to the crime. And she was trying to check all the bases. What she failed to look at was she's getting the same exact charges as Nick. I guess she forgot to, read that part. But again, I'll always come back to this. That first of all, before she met up with Mike Stanfield and they came up with their little game plan to go with this Shabbos claim and make it very, very, unique with this whole Munchausen, by proxy narrative. It's very different. It's very Hollywood-like. It's very good for a Hollywood story, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
But it's fictional. You know what I mean? It's completely fictional. This was made up. And again, he said specifically, even with that narrative in play, that if it goes to trial, she will go to prison the rest of her life. If so, it's like, I'm a little bit baffled that on one hand, he could say like she was this abuse victim, but at the same time say, well, if she goes to trial, she's going away for life. Well, if she's a abuse victim, why would she go away for life? There's her defense. I don't get it. How do you have it both ways? You can't. But apparently he wants us to turn the world upside down and sideways and see through this lens of like confusion. And essentially that's probably that's what Jose Baez did with the whole Casey Anthony case. It's like he didn't have any like proof or any like, corroboration for any of the stuff they came up with. They just threw so much confusion into the mix that, the jury system, even though the jury system did apply to Gypsy's case due to the plea deal, but the jury system in the Casey Anthony case were just given so much whiplash from the BS. And Jose Baez is like a car salesman. He's really good at presenting a story and doing a sales pitch, and essentially that's what got over on that jury. And I've tried to look at those juror interviews and stuff like that, and it's just like they ignored like majority of the evidence that surrounded. Well, it was mostly circumstance. Yeah, but when you have a trunk of a car that's got your deceased daughter's DNA with chloroform and decomposition, and she's found a block away with duct tape over the skull and everything, it's like I think that tells a story. It's like, and these jurors like, well, we don't have a time of death. So it's like, so basically the precedent that this jury is setting is, if you either hide the body good enough or let it decompose long enough, you can get away with murder.
I think
And
that
let's not
Gypsy-
forget. Oh,
Go ahead.
Wait, one more
let's
thing.
not forget.
Hold on, Ash, one thing. Here's another bit of misinformation that a lot of people, because I posted this on my Facebook, and I'm surprised a lot of people didn't remember this, but they're like, oh, she was overcharged, that's why she got out of this. I'm like, no, she wasn't. She was charged with murder 1, manslaughter, child abuse, and then the 4 charges that she was convicted on with perjury. So I'm like, they had 2 very, broad lessers that they could have given her. They didn't even give her child abuse, and she didn't even report her child missing. And she was purposely throwing off investigators to make sure that she couldn't find the child. It's like, how is that not going to apply to child abuse? Crazy.
Yeah,
and even if they believed Casey's story about the kid drowning, she discarded her and her dad, supposedly, according to the defense, discarded her in the woods. How is that not
like garbage?
Right. So how is that not child abuse?
Right.
I don't get it. It's
and
like,
let's not forget the fact
lessers
that
the
the
lesser
defense
includeds were
team.
there, but they're like, oh, it's M1, and it was, and one person even thought that the ultimate penalty was going to be automatic. Like, there's no such thing as that. A jury or a judge has to determine that. There's no such thing as an automatic ultimate penalty. There's automatic life sentences in states that don't have the penalty, like like in Louisiana, there's mandatory life if you get M1 or M2. You know what I mean? Like there are mandatory life sentences, but there's no such thing as a mandatory ultimate penalty. There has to be a penalty phase. It's actually a constitutional right to have a penalty phase. So again, there's a lot of people misinformed about Casey Anthony's case. I was very surprised to see like how misinformed they were. And I think the same kind of misinformation stirred up enough confusion about Gypsy's case. And that's why, it takes people like us to go out and make sure that the narratives are corrected, especially when it's a younger demographic that's being targeted by people like Gypsy and that camp over there. And again, like, validating a lot of these younger girls that are probably angry with their parents and like, hey, I could just go do what Gypsy did. She's got her own reality show. She's got her, she's this icon. She's this figure I can look up to. It's like at the end, it's like they need. And then again, Sheena was asking yesterday, like, what are you guys doing about this? You're not doing anything. Well, what do you think having these conversations and making these videos are all about?
What world are we living in where that happens, guys? What world are we living in?
World. We live in a screwed up world.
I
Because
mean,
again, it's like, if anything, if any of history repeats itself on when it comes to Gypsy Rose, it's like, again, I can imagine them saying like, hey, where were the signs? How could we have prevented this? Well, gee, I wonder who helped it who allowed it in the first place. That justice system's gonna have the blood.
And the people that enable it.
And things are happening. No, I'm just saying the fact that, like, what world and society do we live in? The fact that a murderer gets to get out and spread this kind of rhetoric and become famous off of it. That's sick.
Again, but like, anytime I do go on Facebook a lot, and I do see a lot of YouTube and I'm, it's fairly anecdotal the way I'm saying this. It might be in like an anecdote. Lake and Riley. That's another example. But anyways, that case was very horrific. But, another thing with that whole thing is, again, it sets that dangerous precedent that not only are you going to release somebody based off this misinformation that a judge let get perpetrated out to the masses through mainstream media, but also let this person get out of prison like basically vindicated in a way. She got rewarded for this crime. She got lots of notoriety. She made hundreds of thousands of dollars off documentaries. She, got to be a Hollywood figure played by Joey King. She's essentially known globally. And again, due to the misinformation and people that don't look into the extensive nature of this case.
Goes to show you guys that Gypsy has never had a day of consequence in her life. I think that when a child is spoiled from a very young age and they grow and it bleeds into their adulthood, I think Gypsy genuinely believes that she can get away with anything and she's above the law and that I got away with
murder.
It's Mackenzie Shirilla. That's another hold. Yes. I mean, at least they threw the book at Mackenzie and were like, get out of here. That judge sent her packing and really let her mom have it too. It's just like, I'm hearing a lot about your daughter and nothing about the victims in this case. Isn't that something? She really let her have it. But even some people like, I love Ivory Rose. She's like, a good content creator and a friend of mine. But she and some other people are like championing her innocence. And it's like, I cannot find anything. And I've looked at everything as far as the innocence factor goes for Mackenzie's case, and basically they're just reiterating stuff that was already investigated, like the medical POTS situation, and also everything regarding the car. There's like the black box of the car, and like, oh, that doesn't make sense. I'm like, well, no, actually it doesn't make sense when you start to see and listen to the jail phone calls between the parents and Mackenzie. Mackenzie ran that household. The parents just submit to anything that girl wanted at any time. It's scary stuff. So, you know what I mean? That's another result of horrible parenting. And again, even from behind bars, she's being fully enabled by her own family. And, you know what I mean? And again, and she's also defaming her victims. And, and that caused, I'm not sure if you guys follow Christina Russo's YouTube channel, but The Big Sister Unhinged is pretty good stuff.
Yeah. I kind of watch every now and then. I know there was a little bit of controversy or whatever that happened recently with them, but it's like, shit happens, they have reasons. I don't, some things shouldn't have been said, but, people have bad days. So,
I understand that, but like, there's a bad day and then there's running a car to a building at 100 miles an hour. That's more than just a bad day. And if a bad day, takes out
Yeah.
2 innocent lives, then that's more than just
Yeah,
a.
I don't mean that part. I meant like
I know what you mean.
one of them talking, I guess, crazy or something online, and because they were drinking a little bit, and it's like, okay, they could have just had a bad day and were letting off steam, and they accidentally said some things that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their again. It's like, but again, Mackenzie, in my opinion, is another
Yeah,
result of
Mackenzie, that
is
she
like
did that
it
shit on
was
purpose.
inevitable that whether it was that crash or something else, something was going to go down, and it was going to affect more than one. Again, like what I mean, based off that girl's extreme self entitlement and
Yeah.
narcissism, and just basically thinking that she reminds me of the Cash Me Outside girl, except like I think Bad
Yeah.
Baby was kind of an act, but this is like like a real version of that, just basically on adrenaline, basically. And you have this result. You have the result of innocent lives completely lost, families destroyed, and now there's narratives getting out there where the families that should be grieving in peace have to come out and defend their dead victims and their relatives and their brothers, and it's crazy. They shouldn't have to be doing that.
Right.
Once again, because we have these perpetrators in media that go out and stir this pot when really it's like, who's the justice system really protecting at the end of the day?
And I know some people have made remarks about her boyfriend's age and her age, but the thing is, though, is even if the parents tried to stop that whole thing, they would have dated each other behind, the scenes or
And
whatever.
you know what? Like,
Anyways,
another thing
kids
is
do
like
that.
Mackenzie was pretty obsessed with Dom. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's not like Dom was praying after a little girl. She seemed to be more into him than him into her at the end of the day.
And
And plus look at
I
the
partially feel like that even if it didn't end up that way, that accident and stuff, she probably would have claimed it was something because of his age
well,
and
yeah,
her being younger.
on
She
top of
just
that, look
seems
at
like that type.
well, I mean, she was also doing some other stuff. She was doing some
Yeah.
back page stuff regarding feet and regarding like I saw the advertisement she put up $1,400 and I'll do anything. Like she was into
Wow.
schmex work, like legit schmex work, like hotel room stuff, like with older scraggly men. Who knows? But again, it's like her parents
Try
don't want
not to be the
that.
judgy, but that's kind of horrible parenting in my
Well, yeah, and the girl was
opinion.
like 17 at the time. It's not like she was a grown adult. It's not like she had life experience. She was not even out of high school yet doing this crap.
Right.
And on top of that, it's like you have, on top of that, the benefits that she received off Dom. He had his own house, and she was demanding like a certain amount of money that to give her each week for like allowance, certain gifts she wanted. Because again, like you think she was getting all of that Gucci and Prada and Louis Vuitton from working some minimum wage job somewhere? No, she was doing the schmex work. She was also involved with drugs to a certain extent. I'm not
Not
saying, and I
even the
think
Right.
video of Dom's mom driving while they were drinking shots and smoking weed in the back seat. Mackenzie and Dom on the way to a concert.
I know both of them engaged in similar activities like that, but like, have you seen any of the stuff that Dominic? Have you seen any of the stuff that Dominic put out, like that got released with Mackenzie saying, "I'm gonna key your car. You better let me in the house, or she's gonna count. She counts to three like a child, like you're admonishing a child. I'm gonna count to three, and she's like making claims to do violent things. I'm gonna
I
do
did that
this.
when I was in high school to my boyfriend. There's just no proof. We didn't have internet then. There were
Right.
cell phones, but Dom's mom driving them while they're in the back seat drinking, and her saying, "No, I don't know anything about no." They didn't drink. They didn't do
Yeah, no, I'm
drugs.
sure, I'm sure there's some. Again, no one's claiming that Dominic or Davion or any one of those families were perfect beings either. But at the same time, it's like this to be Mackenzie and her family and slandering all those families instead of letting them grieve properly is ridiculous. I mean,
Right.
these are young people at the end of the day, and I think sets of parents on everywhere all around. Dominic's parents and Mackenzie's parents probably didn't have perfect parents to say the least. But yeah, what is that clicking on your end, Nicole? What is that?
Probably that's why I keep muting. No idea. It might be my ceiling fan.
Okay, I was because I've been hearing it for a while. I don't mind it. It's just I was wondering if I was.
No, I keep turning it. I've turned it off unless I talk.
Okay. No, not a problem. But yeah, just with Dominic and Davion, like Davion was like collateral damage, and it's really sad because like once again, I think whatever Mackenzie and Dom were going through at the time, Davion was just complete collateral damage, wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people. So you
Right.
know what I mean, that's what makes that all the more tragic. And then on top of that, you have like Mackenzie's family thinking that all this like, and plus also having to talk in that gibberish circus language in front of the police is not something innocent people do. I'll tell you that.
Right.
Especially when we translated it, there's a lot, and I put that on my TikTok page. I actually do a crash course, and it didn't get much traction either. I was surprised it didn't. It's a really good crash course on how to translate that language. And she especially asks her mom up in the hospital in front of the police, "Can't we just tell them I had a seizure?" I'm
Which
like,
is fucked up.
and again, she was on Chris Cuomo's show earlier this week, and she was claiming the POTS diagnosis, but no doctor diagnosis. She can't name a doctor. She can't name any incident of any pot. First of all, I know what the POTS symptoms are, and it doesn't cause you to slam the gas pedal at full
Right.
speed into a building. That's not what it does. It's
That's
mostly when you
probably
slow
why
down,
she said
you get
seizure, though,
lightheaded.
because
I know people that have POTS, and they stand up and they feel lightheaded. They might
yeah,
faint. They might feel like a little, like their heart rate goes down. Sometimes it turns into a panic attack. You know what I mean? It's just like there's a lot. Yeah, no one just, yeah, you mostly go limp. Your whole body
yeah.
just relaxes. You don't go into like some mode where, and then also it shows on the black
Only way
box.
that would
Someone put
happen
it
is
in
if she
neutral.
did have a seizure, and I highly doubt she did.
It wouldn't make
Because
you.
my husband
If you had a
stiffens
seizure,
up.
how would you navigate that winding road like it showed in the
Yeah,
video?
I know. That's what I was going to say.
That's a very cohesive seizure, and on top of the cohesive seizure, we also have the black box showing that someone put it into neutral and then someone slammed it back in a drive. Once
Yeah,
again, that's a very convenient and interesting seizure. So, and
right.
again, you think the
I
police
know.
didn't
I was
do
saying
this?
with her whole theory of her
No, I
trying
know
to
because that's
claim
what
guilt
they're.
with the,
As soon as they couldn't claim the whole recall story with the car anymore, and the black
yeah,
box debunked them. Like, oh, let's go back to the medical stuff. Even though that was already looked at, they diagnosed Mackenzie from every which way, and they can tell when someone's had a seizure or someone has POTS. There's
yeah,
all these
because
extensive tests. There's nothing. She has
they
no
always do
issues.
neurological testing for
Right.
seizures
And a
because my husband
neurologist would
has
find that. Yeah, I
epilepsy.
was gonna say a neurologist would find that in 2 seconds, and not even did
Yep.
they even say like, "Oh, we didn't get to see a neurologist," or "We're going to get a neurologist to put diagnosis in the appeals or whatever." And plus, you want to know what? If you don't bring that at the time of trial, and that's neglect on your part, a panel of judges in an appellate court is going to be like, if you were trying to hold that back to create error in a trial, they're not going to give you a mistrial based on that. Again, that's dirty lawyer tactics where you purposely withhold something so you can be like, "Oh, look, we have this evidence," or try to claim it as new evidence, even though it shows that you've had knowledge of it even before the trial. It's like that's when it matters the most, is at the trial. So
Right.
again, it's like even if that were true, why would you be stupid and not present it at the only time it's needed? In front of a
Yeah.
judge. Now, because once you reach the level of conviction, burden of proof completely shifts to the defendant. You know what I mean? That's another thing that makes this like an uphill battle for anybody in the appellate system. And appeals, if you want to look at statistics, I think it's just between 2 and 4% appeals end up being successful. It's a very small minority. So you're taking a
Right.
big chance of playing games with the system to shift the burden of proof over to you. Because once you're convicted, the appellate courts, they give the state the benefit of the doubt by default. They're required to. The law changes big time once you're convicted. It's not retrying the guilt phase of the case. Now it's about procedural errors, possible prosecutorial misconduct, or if there was errors with a certain piece of evidence, it has to be so strong that the panel of judges agree that the outcome of the case could have been completely different had this piece of information been in there or not in there. You know what I mean? So a lot of people think they could find one mistake made in a police investigation or somewhere in the justice system. They find one error, and there are errors. Everyone's human at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
even judges and attorneys do make errors. But that doesn't mean you free criminals to punish them or to teach them a lesson, and you don't free criminals to make right with that situation. Again, it has to be serious enough where the panel of judges believe, at least the majority of them do, that what, you're right, the defense is correct and the appellate attorneys are correct. Because if that piece of evidence were in the trial, I do believe the outcome of the case could have been completely different, whether it was a bench trial or jury trial. And a lot of people like have misconceptions about how the appellate process works. Because again, like, and Mackenzie Sherrill, I believe, is on her third appeal. She just tried taking it to the Ohio Supreme Court, and they didn't even want to look at it. They're not required to. They can reject your case and be like, nope, we read your summary. We don't want anything to do with this. Goodbye. And that just happened this past week. So Mackenzie, and again, you know, for some reason, for someone that's so hell-bent on getting out of prison, she certainly files her paperwork late, because even on the first appeal,
Yeah.
she missed the date. What else do you
who
have going
does that?
on? Mackenzie, what else do you have going on? You're sitting in prison. How can you miss the date? Again,
She has
the
to make
baffles them.
friends and act like she's still in high school.
I know, she's in there. It looks like she's almost getting like beauty treatments in a way. I'm like, how'd she get lip filler? Is that lip filler or these like AI pictures? Like, what's going on
And
here? Like, again,
Girls sometimes do
priorities
their,
are going in the wrong. Yeah.
outline of their lips, like, and make them look bigger. It's how
prison
some
spot.
girls do it.
Oh, the outline. Okay, I thought there might have been like prison Botox or something. I don't know these things. You know, I mean,
I
things.
wouldn't be
There's a lot.
surprised.
Again, like, you know, times change, things evolve. You know, people can make anything in prison. I've heard a lot of like, you know, creative prison stories of like, you know, different food recipes and
Yeah,
different
my
ways to
husband
make
used to do
weapons and different
tattoos
ways
in there.
Yeah, different ways to sneak in phones and sneak in contraband. It's like I've heard all kinds of these stories, and then on top of that, you have the guards working with them too. You know, you got crooked guards in most prisons. So yeah, the systems and times change. It's like, hey, I believe in prison Botox. If someone told me, I wouldn't put it past anything. You know, look at the generation we're living in now, especially the generation of entitlement. It's like you have access to everything at your fingertips. Why not just add Botox to the prison list, to the commissary? I'm not going to judge. And again, that just shows the priority. That shows the lack of priorities when it comes to Mackenzie altogether. You know, it's just like she missed her appellate date to file the paperwork. Who does that if you're sitting in prison and you have like nothing really going on? I mean, I'm sure there's things that you can do in prison, but I think the first thing I'd be paying attention to is getting the hell out of there, especially like, you know, she's got over 35 prison infractions and just in the last 3 years, and parole board is going to have a field day with that. You think, dude, I know it's like I've seen hearings where over like a 20-year period, they had 1 or 2 minor infractions and they still got denied for parole. Imagine how much that girl's going to rack up by the time 15 years is up. It's going to be astonishing. It's going to be like mind-bending. But there's still people out there championing her innocence for whatever reason. Again, there's a sucker born every minute.
Right. It might take her a few years to actually fucking try and grow up to realize she fucked up a lot.
You know, I
Maybe
can't see
there's a
anyone in
chance
that
for
family.
her.
I can't see anyone in that family taking accountability for anything because it's the lack of accountability that got her in prison in the first place. So why start now? Again, it's just like same as Gypsy. The behaviors don't change. They haven't. Gypsy's still, you know, a danger in my opinion. You know, she shows many signs of it, you know, going after the younger demographics. Now she's just got new ways to, and again, it's like, you know, Ken and, you know, her whole side of the aisle tries to justify this with, well, she didn't get to live a regular life like the rest of us. She was sheltered. She was this, and that. I mean, even though she practically lived at Disney World, she lived at Magic Kingdom. But sure, she didn't do anything. She didn't get to go anywhere, do anything. Like, she got to go to Disney and go on more trips than like 5 other people's lifetimes. And she's gonna sit
I
there
wish I had Gypsy's abuse.
Yeah, I would love the Disney abuse. The Disney abuse sounds like, sign me up.
It's like, no, not Disney again. No.
Please get me off the Matterhorn. Oh no, not the Haunted Mansion again. You know, it's like, it's funny, but it's not. It's like I feel like,
not the royal mashed potatoes.
No, not the royal mashed potatoes, Mom. Keep them away.
I think the only way to honestly get to Gypsy is to start talking about her and start talking about like Casey Anthony. It makes her jealous.
Yeah, I mean,
Get her off of everything.
I guess
Mackenzie's coming out with a big issue.
Yeah,
I guess Casey's writing a memoir now. She's writing a memoir. I guess Gypsy inspired her to, I guess, do a memoir.
I mean,
are you fucking serious?
in the day and the but again, like in the age of AI and ghostwriting, it's just like I think she's just trying to go for some pseudo cash grab. I think she knows people are not like supporting her. They're just gonna read it out of rage bait, or she's baiting people, or she's just gonna get people that are just curious. Again, it's not like anyone's gonna read that and be so touched by it and give it a 5-star review. No, she's gonna get slaughtered for reviews.
I
But
think Gypsy's only downfall will be for all her haters to stop talking about her. That will kill her from the inside out.
it kind of will, yeah, because you want to know when it comes to sociopaths, they don't care what kind of attention they get, positive, negative, regardless. It's like as long as it's attention, tenfold. So it's and my outlook is that they don't care about what kind of attention it is, because again, it's like I guarantee she spends more time looking at what the haters are saying, going to the GRB snark page more than she does anything else.
Do you
So
remember Ashley Cat?
the what?
Miss Ashley Cat? Do you remember her from like 3 or 4 years ago? The only way we got her off of TikTok was to stop talking about her.
What was her
She's
name?
never been back. Ms. Ashley Cat.
Sometimes you keep cutting out,
I
Nicole.
don't know. I just came to TikTok a
Oh
year
my
ago.
Ms. Ashley Cat?
Yeah,
From Maryland?
I just came to TikTok like a year ago. So
Oh, okay.
if it was that long
No.
ago, I'd have to look it up. But I like
They
to go
tried
to.
to get rid of her for 3 years, and until
mean,
they all
is
stopped
she like-
talking about her, that's the
is she
only
kinda
time
like-
they got rid of her.
Is she like a lol cow, like or
She's a
anything like that?
crackhead.
I Cowboy Bear.
You know what a lol cow is, right? Lol cow is basically someone that's just a pure cringe. Like I've seen the Amberlyn Reed one. I've seen one on Cyrax. I've seen one on that guy Daniel Larson. And Gypsy Rose is becoming a lol cow very quickly.
Yeah,
And
no,
she,
this was
she's part of like go to Kiwi Farms or lol cow, and it's basically
yes, she was on there actually.
yeah, it's basically people that are just so cringe that like you have
Yeah.
these like super YouTube channels of millions of views and subscribers that cover these stories on these very bizarre people that record themselves doing some of the most outrageous stuff. Daniel Larson being a very interesting case, and thank God he's behind bars right now because again, this guy. Like people used to bait him on here on TikTok and get him to say some really disturbing stuff. Like maybe he knew what it was, maybe he didn't. Like it's like, is he on the spectrum? Is he not? But he's also very violent and very like you don't want to look this guy up unless you really want to cringe. So viewer discretion is advised. Daniel Larson. But yeah, anyways, no, the thing Gypsy Rose is becoming slowly a lol cow, if not is a lol cow. So, again, if you want to know what a lol cow is, LOL cow, or, the term also Kiwi Farms. That's another name. That's another part of the terminology.
Ashley Reiner was
Yeah,
definitely on there.
Some people that do those cringy videos, I don't understand because it's like, why would you do that and then post it?
Thank you, Cowboy.
I've
Cowboy
got,
Bear, how
I've
you
got
doing, buddy?
thanks
Thank you,
for popping me
Cowboy.
up. I've got to be really quick because I've actually got to go to work. But I just want to
Yeah,
quickly
I'm just
say
checking.
there's a couple.
I got to as well. I'm just kind of, doing my just quick check-in with you guys to let you know that
There was a couple of comments about why people talk about Gypsy Rose even if they don't like her, and I just want to say if her narrative is the only narrative out here, then we're just allowing her to absolutely slander the woman that she unalived, that she helped unalive, or whatever you want to call it. And also, her narrative is incredibly dangerous to people who are the youth who are being abused or are potentially in situations she claims that she was in. She's showing a very dangerous narrative. She's not out here saying, here are some resources. What I did wasn't right. This is how it negatively affected my life. Here is a better way to go about it and get out. And, be an inspiration to people, going through abuse. No, she's come out, slandered her mother, lied, and is making it look like the avenue that she took is a better avenue. And there is something called the contagion effect, and it's researchable and it's very real within the youth and the media. And I think she's a danger. And not only that, she has set the understanding of factitious disorder and Munchausen by proxy back decades. Her case alone, decades. And honestly, I think she's a narcissistic, sadistic liar, and she doesn't she doesn't deserve the accolades that she gets, and she needs to get offline. No one should be able to profit off of this. It's ridiculous. That's all I have to say.
And believe me, yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And, especially because she's going after the younger demographics. That's my main issue.
Yeah, she
That's the
is.
biggest issue. On top of the fact that the justice system released somebody they're taking a big risk with on possibly having history repeat itself. And I believe Autumn when it comes to Ken being afraid of leaving her. In fact, I don't even think he's ever denied those claims, Ken. I've had him on my panel before, and we had a nice conversation. Like I always give everybody grace, no matter who it is, whether it's on this side of the aisle or the other. So it's just like, you know what I mean? Like Sheena's like, what are we doing about this? Well, exactly what we're doing now. We're having the
Spreading
conversation, spreading the
information.
awareness, and having
Yeah.
the correct information.
Amy, if you even go and have a look at most of the creators that are talking about Gypsy, they're talking about FOIAs, they're talking about medical reports, they're talking about facts. They are delivering facts to the general population who doesn't know those facts because of Gypsy's media narrative. It's not
And I'm not
most of
gaining
us.
anything out of this. I'm not
Yeah,
gaining. I'm
I
not
don't even make
monetized. I don't get
money.
anything
I'm
out of this.
Australian. Australians don't even make money, and there's Australians that make content on
Yeah,
there
because I used to
because
date
we care.
a girl from Australia, and she told me the same thing that in where she's from in Australia, she basically said that you can't monetize like any social media out there. I was like,
No,
oh, that's interesting.
no.
And there's even like,
I
because
really
like she
get.
came to the States and she was like talking about her freedoms, and she's like, wow, I can do everything on the internet. I can get every channel on TV. I can watch any movie I want. I'm like, yeah, because I do read about like there's different rules for every country. Like I think it's the country of like Malaysia where like they don't allow even like some PG-13 movies. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
crazy.
and like Amy, if I was talking about like Ed Kemper, would you say that I'm just talking about my quote unquote dislike of him for my own gain? I think it's really minimizing to when we're talking about a case and a schmurderer to say dislike. We're talking about a schmurder case. We're talking
Yeah.
about someone whose life was taken
And
from them. It's
not
not
only that, but
dislike.
also the justice system dropping the ball and making sure something like this doesn't happen again, and the right information gets out there and to correct the false narratives that the media has perpetrated, along with Gypsy and her lawyers. So again, it's got nothing to do with dislike of anyone. It's not a dislike thing. It's getting an awareness out there. But hey guys, I got to get going for a little while. I got some work stuff to do. I did just want to check. Also, go to my page. I'm gonna be doing these for a while. I put
I'll
3
share 'em.
parts. Yeah, I put 3 parts of the Gypsy Rose debunks herself with her own words series. I started that yesterday. 3 of them have been posted. I'm gonna try to do 3 more over the next couple of days. And again, like if I run into anyone that believes these silly little narratives of hers, I'm gonna just play one of these. They could look through all of them if they're smart. And it's like, okay, watch these and tell me how you could still believe her. And please like rationalize your position, because I cannot rationalize how anyone could believe her after reading, and hearing her own words and 5 different stories about the same pedestrian topic, like Barbie dolls. Ridiculous. But pathological liars will, the more details they put into a story, that's usually the sign of a pathological liar. And if you have to come back later and say, well, I have to add this to the story, and you didn't say it the first time, then that says to me you're lying. You're just trying to cover, it's like instead of owning up, pathological liars double down on the lie, and then they add more details to try to be more persuasive about the lie.
Like in some situations, especially people with narcissistic personality disorder, they have something that is called like they actually disassociate when they're lying. They'll disassociate from a lie, so they genuinely believe it. They end up getting to a point where they genuinely believe.
And in a way, it's like you almost can't call them a liar because they truly believe what they're saying is true. And it's just a really dangerous level of delusion.
Okay, Lance, if you think that I haven't researched on it, I mean, I just told you, we've read the FOIAs, we've read the medical records, I've read the clinical guidelines for clinicians for red flagging and diagnosing factitious disorder imposed on another. I'm familiar with the DSM-5. What more would you like me to research?
Yeah.
I studied psychology.
I gotta get
what
going.
What more would you like?
But, yeah, I gotta get going. Anyways, say hi to everybody over down under over there. I've always wanted to come to Australia. It's a beautiful country. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day and night, and go check out those videos when you get a chance. I will check in with everybody tomorrow. Everybody have a great rest of your week and weekend, and happy July 4th.